Hey friend, welcome back to Shutdown Not Shaken, a special mini-series of the podcast At Ease. I'm your host, Cristin Candace, and today's episode is going to be a little bit of a heart-to-heart, a crossroads between what you have to do and what your spirit is calling you to do. It is about anger, freedom, and a reminder that sometimes our bodies know before our minds catch up. So I am currently in a 2-day intensive for my evidence-based coaching program. And one of the things that I love most about this program is that I get to coach, but I also get to be coached. And today, oh gosh, I definitely chose to be coached about something real. Not that you really have a choice. You have to share and be vulnerable. That's the only way the program works. But I talked about feeling like I'm at a crossroads in my career. I know that I have bills to pay. I know that stability matters in a sense, even though our sense of stability has been rocked all year long. But I also know that I can't keep ignoring this pull like this that started as a whisper but is getting really loud lately that says you should be doing something different. And during this government shutdown, I've used this opportunity to really start exploring about what that something different may be. I've done that through this podcast. I've done it through coaching. I've done it through teaching my first Zumba class in over 7 years. And, going into the class, I was a nervous wreck. Okay. I love dancing. I came out the womb dancing, but sometimes you don't know if you're still capable. A couple of days ago, I just had the idea of what if I taught a Zumba class, a furlough Friday, a free class for people who are furloughed, if you've been riffed, just to bring some joy. And it seemed like a good idea, but I immediately put it out there without thinking about the logistics of it, right? And once I got into thinking about the how am I putting on this class, my stomach was in knots. I'm like, do I have a playlist? Do I have routines put together? I don't have a place. Okay, I can do it on Zoom, but I've actually never taught virtually, even though tons of people moved their dance fitness classes to, Zoom, Facebook Live, whatever during the pandemic. I was sitting at home with 2 small children and did not take part in that. So I was nervous. I'm like, do I have the stamina? I work out, but I have not taught a class. I have not showed up with that amount of energy in a really long time. So there were a lot of questions swirling through my head leading up to the class and even honestly during the class. I figured out all the things, showed up. I want to say there were somewhere between 8 or 10 people who came to the class, which I was really grateful for, given the fact that I don't even know if I gave 48 hours notice about this, but it was after the class. One of my students, who's actually a friend, I also forget that people might have seen me dance in college. They might have seen me cheer in high school. But my friends, generally speaking, a lot of them have never seen me teach a class, ever. They've never been to a class. If you don't, like I said, this is my first time teaching virtually. So if you've never been in person in a class, you've never seen it. And so I got a text and it said, "You looked so free leading your class today." And when I tell you, I cried. I cried when I read that because that's exactly how I felt. I felt free. And that freedom, that feeling, it's what I really want to carry into every area of my life. Not just when I'm dancing, not just when the music is on, but in my work, in my relationships, and when I'm carrying out my purpose. So for years, I've been in environments where I don't feel like freedom has been encouraged. I mean, I work in the government. I could be here for days talking about red tape and compliance. Beyond that, I work in HR. So, creativity is replaced by compliance. And sometimes it feels like joy is rationed, if you will. So the class wasn't just a workout. It was really a reminder for me that I am most myself when I am moving, when I am leading, when I am expressing joy through my body, not just my words. Let me just tell you where the coaching session got real. As I was talking, the tears just started to flow. And I realized that beneath the exhaustion, beneath the questions about what's next, baby, there's anger. I'm angry about how I and other feds have been treated this year. From being forced back in the office with only 10 days notice. And that might sound like something, but when you have children and don't have childcare, that alone was a mountain to climb. To being let go. Me and my team were laid off. Then we were brought back and told to come back in the next day. Again, if you think you've lost your job and it's been 60 days since you've lost your job, do you think I was still paying for childcare or that I still had childcare lined up? Or not to mention the fact that when we were told to come back in the office, it was like literally the week before school ended. So now we're going into the summer and now I don't have camp lined up for my children because I wasn't supposed to be working. Then going back into a building that's not sound and ready for people to be returning, a building with chemical fumes and dangerous construction going on. And now we're sitting in these unsafe spaces because we're not allowed to work from home. To present day, we're sitting in limbo during this furlough. We have no idea when we'll go back to work. More people are being laid off. Even though the law says that we're supposed to be paid, they're talking about not paying us. It has been a year of instability, of being tossed around by systems that clearly don't see us as human. And I think for a lot of us, especially those of us who work in government or really any type of corporate spaces, we have been conditioned to suppress our anger, to say, I'm fine, it's all good, when we're not, to make peace with this chaos that really it's not mine to fix. But today, I let myself cry. And that anger was some information. It's telling me what I value. It's telling me what's no longer sustainable. It's telling me that freedom is not just something that I crave, but it's actually something that I deserve. And it reminded me what freedom actually feels like. And that, I think that's what I'm seeking, is that feeling. How can I continue to create that feeling? And I talked about this in the dance episode. One of the things that dance teaches us, I don't care if it's Zumba, modern, ballet, or just you doing a two-step in your kitchen. It's how to move through emotion, how to give anger a rhythm. You can give sadness grace, and just how to let joy have its say. And when I'm dancing, my body, I feel like it becomes a prayer for release, for peace, for presence. And maybe that's what freedom really is, not the absence of struggle, but the ability to move through it with rhythm, with breath and softness. Dance, it reminds me, like, I don't have to have all the answers. Like, I had none of this. I could verbalize that there were things in my job or career that I was over or was ready to move past, but I didn't necessarily have the answers. Like, when people say, like, how do you want to feel? I might be able to name it, never having really had that feeling itself. And that class, well, I'm grateful that others got to experience joy. It told me that I could still move even when I'm uncertain, that I can move what I can in this moment. without an answer, without having a place to have the class, without having the playlist, without having like the perfect lighting and the setup, that it can still be free. It can still feel free without those answers. So I know I'm not the only one. Maybe you're in a season where you feel like you're holding everything, and in holding everything, you're holding back. You're holding your career, your family, your finances, your identity, and it's all wrapped up in, let's be real, some bullshit. It's wrapped up in what we've been doing, but it may not be who we want to be or the direction that we're going in. Maybe you've been told to stay grateful, to be patient, to wait it out. Oh gosh, if I hear wait it out one more time. But I want to remind you that gratitude and grief can coexist. Anger and peace can coexist. Rest and purpose can coexist. I don't have to choose between paying bills and pursuing joy. I'm going to hold both. I can pay bills and still explore what brings me joy and makes me feel alive. Even if it starts with one 45-minute dance class on a furlough Friday. Even if it starts with simply saying, I want to feel free again. So here are some questions. Here are some questions that I am also asking myself. And maybe you'll want to journal or think your way through them today. What makes you feel most free? And how often are you doing it? Where in your life are you tolerating conditions that feel like fumes, unhealthy, exhausting, and invisible? What is your anger trying to tell you? And finally, what would it look like for you to move like you're free in work, in relationships, and in your purpose? This shutdown, for all its uncertainty, is showing me something that I really didn't expect. I started off thinking that this was a pause. I am now realizing that this may be an inflection point. This may be the catalyst for the pivot. So if you are listening to this and you are standing at your own crossroads, I am right there with you. You are not alone. We're all just trying to find our rhythm again. Take a breath, move what you can, and remember, freedom is not something you earn, it's something you return to. We were born free. And if the government is still shut down, I will see you tomorrow.